Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is a mass repotting. This is all of Derek's plants except one. Yes, except one. And I'm going to do them all like a conveyor belt. They're not going to get cleaned up. I'm not going to clean the pots. All I'm doing is changing the media because the coconut husk that is in there is probably, if not gone off, is going off. And they're staying wet too long without getting fresh water going through them. So we'll start with some new bark. That's small bark with a bit of medium mixed in, not much, and perlite that just arrived yesterday. And that's what I'm going to be using. So each one of these is going to get individually done with the waste put here, new media, pot out the way, and next one. It is like that. And I'm doing them one at a time because if I get them all out of their pots, they're going to get their tags muddled up. A lot of them haven't got tags, but those that have I want to maintain. So it's literally tag to one side, out of the pot, quick shake, check for any rot, bits that need to come off. As I said, they're not getting much of a clean up, they're just getting a quick go, and any obvious dead roots, rotten roots can come off, and that's about it. And then I'll quickly rub around the pots with my finger just to clean the algae off and get any sticky media out. As I said, I'm not having a big clean up here, I just want to get them in their pots. New media. And the next thing I want to do with all of my plants is go round and actually get the clear pots back into black pots to stop the algae, because I have noticed the algae is growing again, starting to be quite noticeable. Right, so that's got a new growth that's quite firm at the base. It's got the colour that looks as though it's rotted, but it hasn't. It's quite firm at the base. So we'll just get that in some new media. New growth to the centre of the pot. And then these will get a good water in. Tag back in. That is Oncidium praestans. So an Oncidium species. Of course, a lot of these could be mislabelled. You know, I've got that to come on the grounds that, with very few exceptions, they haven't bloomed yet. See, now this is quite a large plant. It hasn't bloomed, and it's not growing very well. But it has got a good root system. It's also, you know, it's fallen in two, so it's two plants. But nonetheless, this is growing okay. So this one's, you know, not in a bad way. I just want to get the cocoa husk off. No point, you know, if the reason for repotting it, this actually looks like it's been repotted more recently than the others. The media just seems newer. Anyway, that's a good piece of plant. It's got new growth coming here, and another new growth right next to it. It's two new growths coming on that piece. So that'll grow on okay, and it's got good backup as well. It's a good sized plant, that one. That will do fine. So that's that one. This one, however, is not doing so good. It does have a new growth on it. New growth is covered in scale, and those actually looked active, as though they were still alive. So that's another reason I want to get on with this today, is that with the lady coming round from the agency, I obviously don't, oh, that is a new growth, there's two new growths on this bit. I obviously don't want this place absolutely stinking of sulphur, because the smell does hang around, because that could be a complaint, like, you know. I doubt it though, she won't even understand what it's all about. There's one rotten pseudo bulb here, which we will have off. And so I want to get that on today, She hasn't phoned today, so she's not going to come today, but she might phone later today and try and arrange to come tomorrow, and I will put her off saying I've got something else to do. I'm not here. And then I'm obviously out Saturday at the show. Could she leave it till next week, please? And that gives me a chance to just sort of whiz the hoover around and, you know, just generally clean up, have a quick sweep in the garden and just get everything ready for her. And the smell of the sulphur hopefully will have dispersed by then. So I am going to put these back in one pot. They will go in. Made up my mind, they are going to go in. Immediate down one side, immediate down the other side, pop up. I don't know what that one is, but it does seem to be growing quite well, whatever it is. Hopefully with this number of new growths on here we should get a new bit of root activity, and then in on top of that root activity and those new growths we may well get a flower spike, at which point we'll find out what it is, won't we? See, that's lifted, I'm going to have to take it out again. The plant lifted up and so the roots weren't in deep enough, and so it wasn't holding itself in the pot. Possibly a bit too much in to start with. Right, we'll start again. We'll make sure those roots are in deep this time. Right. I don't normally get things wrong like that, but as I said, I want this done and out the way so that I can get the hot box on, and I've got some other things to do this afternoon on the computer, so I wanted to get everything out here done and dusted, get the door sealed up and get the hot box on, and then I can relax. That's a bit better, that's holding itself up now. No tag on that one, whatever it is, we may find out later this year. Right, another little one here, no tag again. But this has grown on quite nicely. Let me just separate my old from my new. This has grown on quite nicely, and its latest new growth is a reasonable size. So this one's coming on. I don't know what that was, something just sounded like it fell down, but I can't see anything on the floor. So. And again, this one's got some roots, not too bad. All of these seem to have been developing on the quiet while I haven't been looking. We are coming into the growing season now, so we should start seeing a bit of new growth activity. So this one, this is the new growth here, and it's actually, you know, formed a reasonable pseudo bulb. So we will be looking for another new growth on there soon. But, it's got a reasonable root system to last it. For now, I'm just going to trim those roots a bit long. Right, pot's not too bad, jolly good. Right, this is probably going to fit quite tight in this pot. Really ought to go in the next size up, but I haven't got the next size up. They're the size that I just cannot get, and I've asked people like Sarah and Orchid Supplies, Peter White, and he said nobody seems to be making that in-between size anymore, so I can't get them because nobody's making them, so we're stuffed, we haven't got them anymore. Right, that's that one. Places to put things soon. Right, another little one. We have a tag this time. This is, well, that's where it came from. This is, if I can read it, it just says Odontoglossum. Oh, hang on. Odontoglossum. Oh, lick me dirty finger, that won't do me any good, will it? Cristatellum. So it's actually an Odontoglossum species, and the fact that the label says Odontoglossum probably means that it's an old, you know, a genuine odont, but it's a fragile plant. It hasn't got a very good root system. It's not a strong grower, but it does have some roots, and it has produced a new growth, albeit weak. So it's trying, and perhaps with some new media it'll push another new growth up. It's got 2 back bulbs and a new growth that produced a weak bulb, and that's it, that's what there is. So maybe we can rejuvenate that and kick it on. Again, old part to the back of the pot, to the new plant. The plant where the part of the plant where the new growth is potentially going to come out needs to be away from the side so that it's got room. That's all it's about, you know, pushing the plant to the back of the pot, is the fact that where the new growth comes out it'll have room to spread and room to get its roots down. So there we go, that's that one. The tag. These will all get a thorough watering once I've finished. I'll probably put them in this tray. Oh, this is a biggie. Now this one says it's Ornithorhynchum. No, it isn't. It's Sotoana. And I know that because this did actually push a bloom up a while back. But I also know it's not a very good plant. But we'll see what we can do with it. It does have a new growth coming, so you know, maybe it will push on. But if you look, these roots are dead. This is not a good plant. It might look like it's got lots of roots. It also looks like it's got some scale. Well, this is old scale, that's good. Yeah, this is old stuff. Now I'm going to take some of the back bulbs off. In fact, I'm going to take most of the back bulbs off. They've got dead roots under them, and I'd like to rejuvenate the plant. So we'll reduce the size of the plant. That also means it can't go back in that pot. I will have to find a smaller pot. But as if by magic, I do have some down below from a previous session. Right, so that's what's left of that. Not a lot, but it does have a new growth. New growth is firm, so it should grow on. I'm not going to bother putting the tag back in that, it's not worth it. It isn't what it says it is. Although I suppose if I put that tag back in, at least I'll know what it actually is, because it isn't what it says on the tag. Are you following this? Right, let's see if I've got a little box for that. Something like that will do. I must have a pot washing session. I've got loads under here where things have changed pots and the old pots have just been chucked on the floor basically. There we go, chuck that rubbishy tag that tells lies there. Another one done. Next. Keep my old away from my new. Right, what have we got here? This has got a tag. What does it say? It says Wills, so that's Wilsonara Tiger Brew Yellow. So that is a Wilsonara, intergeneric, but with a fair bit of Odontoglossum in it, and that's probably quite an old cross. It could also be a cross that's not registered. I don't know. But as it's showing no signs of getting to blooming size yet, we won't worry about it yet. but it does have nice strong new growth on it. It does have bits hanging off the back that would have to be buried in the repot, so they will have to come off. I can't be doing with burying pseudo-bulbs. I've never liked that idea, I must admit. Some people seem to think it's okay. A lot of it depends on your temperatures and your media. You know, if you've got good high temperatures where the top of the media is going to dry off quite quickly, then yeah, you can get away with it. But in my cooler temperatures I probably couldn't. I've got a few manky roots here that need to come off on this one. It's like a central section. The old pseudo-bulbs again. There we go. That'll do. As I said, I'm not going mad. We've taken a good bit off now. See, that's what happens when you rush. Anyway, we've got a new growth, and now we've got 2 back bulbs, 1 per leaf. And we do have a name for this one. Scissors moving like that made me jump. Right, there we go. Water that one in. Tag back in. Right, I've done 6. There's 2, 4, 6 to go. So, as I say, some are a little easier than others. It depends whether they need work or not. This one, another strong new growth. Old pseudo bulb. The rest of them can stay, and sheaths to come off always. There's just no point in leaving them there when you're in a place where you know you've either had or have got scale, because that's where they're going to live. So all you're doing is giving them a home, you're helping them, so don't. Right, not much of a root system on this little one, is there? So there's a mature scale there, but if it comes off that easy, it's dead. So, yep, there we go then. That's another one. No tag on this one. But looking at those dark colours on there, that's something a little unusual probably. So dark colours of the leaves. Ooh, look at those on. Oh, they're just wiping off, so they are old. Done, no tag. Next, why I'm bothering with this one I really don't know. It has a name. It says now this says Oncidium cheesebrettianum, and I know exactly what that is. It's actually the Mexicoa that I've already got on a mount, and this is another one of those, and these are not easy to get hold of. And this one is virtually non-existent, but it has a sign of a new growth coming up there. So I will put it in some media and see if it will grow. I don't think it will, but then I do have a much better version on a mount. And I know Sarah's got some. Occasionally one comes out for sale, but not very often. They tend to stay in her private section and in a little group. It's one of those that I doubt if she could get again, so she doesn't want to let the numbers drop off too much in case, you know, she gets a problem with some of them and ends up with too small a colony to keep going, if you know what I mean. So having a possible backup has got to be worth it, but whether that's going to grow, I don't think that will grow personally, but we'll give it a go. And some of those roots look quite new, so Get it in some new media and see what it wants to do. Nothing, I suspect. Right, so there we go. I'm going to say that tag tells lies, because I know what was meant. But the thing is with Sarah, when she gets plants in, she often relies on what the person who's supplied it, you know, has put on the tag. And if they've spelt something wrong or got it wrong, she doesn't always notice. And she'll also, even though she knows a plant name's changed, if she gets a group of plants in and they're all labelled up nicely, she'll leave those old labels on. You know, things like the, you know, that have got a known name change. She'll just leave them as they are. But, you know, there's only so much you can do when you've got a busy nursery. And when you've got a busy nursery that's your living, the most important thing is not the plants coming in, it's the plants going out. It's the sales, you know, they are of vital importance to keep a nursery going. So, long leg, you can come off, as can some of you in there, dead bits. A bit of activity going on at the airport today. This one's got a name as well. This is an oda, which is an abbreviation of Odontodia, I believe, which is, well, it's got Odontoglossum as the first part of its name, and the other one would be Cochleoda, I think. It's the only thing I can think of in the Oncidium alliance that ends with that would end suitably, but the abbreviation oda, I'm pretty sure, is Odontodia, which is Odontoglossum, and Cochleoda, another cool growing Oncidium type. Go well together with Odontoglossums, and often used in crosses because they both have similar cultural requirements. Right, tag back in. Those that have got tags we will maintain. Right, another little one. This one's hanging out the side of the pot because this is grown on but leant over, and this says Oncidium Emrys Jones, but I've tried looking that up and nothing comes up. So it could be a made-up name. I mean, it could be somebody that produced a cross, because some of these plants go back a long way, and named it and never got round to registering it. So nobody else has heard of that name. That happens. Right. A couple of manky bulbs on the back of here, so we will take those off. And this new growth here has actually pushed some quite nice roots out. So we get the, what you call it, stuff off, cocoa husk off, get that in some new media. That should grow on okay this year. We shall see. Oops. See, now that, I'd love to get some more pots like that. Wide, shallow and small. They're difficult to come by. I can actually see some brand new green root tips on the base of that latest growth. So this one is actually growing new roots at this point. So getting that into some nice new media, I'm sure will do it the world of good. And unfortunately that one's not going to stand up, so we will prop it. I'll just put a cane in front of it. No, it's still not going to stand up, we'll have to come round the back. Come round the back and put a clip on the bulb. So just hold that for a minute. Well, that's the first one that's decided to be a nuisance. Just put a grabby clip on there. That's got it. And I mean, it's actively growing roots, so it'll soon root in. And Oncidium Emrys, E-M-R-Y-S Jones. And that sounds very Welsh to me, quite honestly. Definite Welsh twang to it. Right, 2 more to go. So what have we got here then? We've got nice new growth coming on here. And a discoloured bulb there with liquid. Need to get that out gently. Got it. No idea what this one is, no tag. Unusual looking plant really, but it's got a new growth coming. It's got some roots, so again, you know, these were in a hell of a state when I got them. For those of you that are new to the channel and haven't really looked at these, it was our chairman for he'd been chairman of the Orchid Society for about 40 years, and he died. He basically got an illness and died, and wanted his plants to go to members of the society, so we sort of split them up amongst ourselves for a donation sort of thing, you know, back into the society. So so he didn't give them away as such, people donated back in. And strangely enough, as soon as the email came round that that's what was going to happen, I responded immediately. And yet, strangely enough, by the time I got invited round there, given that I was one of the first ones to reply, a lot of the good stuff had gone. And you could say I was annoyed, because I was. Because obviously people had got in before me that couldn't possibly have responded to that email any sooner than I had, because it was in minutes I replied. So obviously some people had obviously booked their slot prior to the email going out. So, you know, they had prior information, privileged access. And I don't like that sort of thing. Jobs for the boys and all that. So, yeah, I was quite annoyed about that at the time. So I had to choose, you know, what was left and just take it or leave it, basically. That's the way it ended up. And I wanted to have some, you know, as a memory sort of thing. So I took the best of what was left, basically. And if you'd gone into a nursery where these plants were, you'd have turned around and walked out. They were in such a state. They were all minute, tiny. Now this one is Oncidium laeve, L-A-E-V-E, and that sounds like a species. I don't know it personally, it's not one I've heard of, but it does say Oncidium on the tag, so it may be an original Oncidium unplayed around with. You don't get many of them, do you? But it's grown a new growth, it has some reasonable roots, there's no reason why this won't push on. You know, given how long I've already had these plants, you know, I've already been looking after them for some time, and they're still tiny little plants. It's going to take, well, potentially it'll take years before they're up to blooming size with some strength behind them. But they all sit on a shelf together. Because they're not growing vigorously, they don't need watering very often. They're going to need watering more often now because they're in new, dry media. So these will get watered now and in a couple of days time they'll need doing again, but then they won't need doing for a while, but they will need watering more often now they're in new media. So there we go, a mass repot. And that's a whole shelf done, and once I've watered them they'll go back on their original shelf. I've got no shuffling around to do. I've got some new media to put in a bag ready for another time. And just to explain, this is based on looking at what Jim was using at McBean's, and it is quite heavy on the perlite, and I've had a look at some of Sarah's repots, and the perlite seems to be in there. Now this is the largest grade that you can buy in this country. As you can see, it's not huge, but that's for some reason there is a restriction in this country that you can't have perlite bigger than, I think it's 5 mil, so half a centimetre maximum size. This is classed as 2 to 5 horticultural grade. You have to watch the dust, and this came, I've got a nice little, well, it's Hannah's idea. It's funny, most of the good ideas are Hannah's, but I was talking about getting stuff and I said if you get stuff off eBay you get free postage, but you get a lousy courier because they go for the cheapest available, and your stuff goes missing, and you know you have to deal with refunds, and it's a nuisance. She said, "But why don't you just use Amazon?" I said, "Because I don't want to pay for the postage." And she said, "I'm on Amazon Prime. Why don't you send the link to me of what you want to buy, and I will buy it and direct it to your address." Ooh. So that's how the perlite got here. I sent Hannah an email, text actually, no, email, whatever, in the evening, and she replied back, "That's ordered, you should get it tomorrow." And I did. You know, guy comes up to the gate, he knows this address, both me and next door use Amazon, so he knows the address, local driver, and uses the intercom, nice polite guy, chatty. And he arrived at sort of about 7:15 in the evening with my parcel. So they obviously work on a bit. But then I'm not sure they start really early because they have to load up and everything. So, but anyway, so I have access to stuff on Amazon with a good delivery service with free postage because Hannah will order it for me. So be more inclined to get stuff now. Not that I can afford much, I'm supposed to be saving money at the moment for potential costs later in the year. Anyway, that mammoth session, I don't know how long that video is going to be, but whatever it is what it is. If you didn't watch it till the end, fair enough, it was a bit repetitive. But it did give me a chance, well us a chance, to have a look over Derek's plants and see which ones are coming on, which ones are almost stationary and hardly done anything over the last year. And those that are pushing on quite well, which is not many, but some. Yeah. So yeah, tomorrow is Project Orchids time. So if you want to find out which one is orchid number 5, then you'll have to watch tomorrow. And then Saturday I'm out all day at the show. Sunday is a normal Sunday, so Sunday chat sort of thing. I will film at the show tomorrow. I still haven't got my phone back from having the battery fixed, so I won't have my good phone with me unless it arrives either today or tomorrow, which I doubt it because they said they would notify me when they send it. Well, it's got to get here, so I expect it will arrive next week. So much for 3 to 4 working days. Anyway, that's what's coming up over the next few days. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time. Bye for now.